Are you looking for your next action RPG fix on the Nintendo Switch? If so, Reynatis might just be the one for you, because after diving into the demo, I quickly realised that this game shows a lot of promise, from its intriguing story to its fast-paced and dynamic combat. Now look, sure, it's a demo, so some features are locked, but there's more than enough here to paint a clear picture of what is to come. So let's break down everything you need to know about Reynatis, starting with the story. Alright, so if you do enjoy this video today, do us a favour, subscribe. It helps out the channel a huge amount. Reynatis throws you into a world where wizards live in the shadows of society. The demo opens in spring 2021 with a female voiceover narrating her journey. She basically shares her dream of becoming a police officer, and she achieves this, but after just 3 days on the job, she's attacked by a monster at the iconic Scramble Crossing and nearly dies. Now this is where the story takes a mystical turn. She finds herself in a strange, mythical place, greeted by a mysterious figure who offers her a staff. Now she doesn't know what this staff does, is it good or bad? She sees it as being a life or death decision, but ultimately she takes it and awakens back in the real world, but now with these newfound magical powers. So with these new abilities, she joins what's called the Magical Enforcement Administration, M.E.A, a government task force responsible for regulating magical activity, arresting offenders, and eliminating dangerous monsters. The shift from police officer to wizard really sets the stage for what feels like a much larger story brewing, as the demo unfolds as well, as she crosses paths, though doesn't interact, with a male wizard who turned 14 but lives in secrecy, hiding his powers while she remains open about hers. This really hints at a larger conflict in the world of Reynatis, because on this one side we have the M.E.A maintaining strict control over magic, but we're also introduced to another organisation, the Guild, and these are pushing for more freedom in the use of magic. They're kind of being set up to be the bad guy at this point, but I'm not sure if that's going to be the case for the entire journey. What I do like though is this tension of opposing ideals. It's really shaping up to be one of the more intriguing aspects of that story. Now let's talk gameplay, because if there's one thing Reynatis nails, it's the combat. It's fast, fluid, and honestly just totally over the top. Now you'll find yourself constantly switching between liberated mode and suppression mode. In liberated mode, you can unleash your magical powers freely, but at the cost of draining your magic power MP over time. Yes, it is essentially stamina. Once you run out of MP, you're forced into suppression mode, where your magic regenerates, but you cannot attack. This adds a nice layer of strategy as you juggle offensive bursts with defensive downtime. Now when suppressed, then dodging becomes the gameplay. That is essential. The game actually gives you a time slowing mechanic to help you dodge long range attacks and regain MP faster. However, this ability is only available in this suppression mode, so you're constantly thinking on your feet, balancing, defense and attack. Movement then also feels great with tight controls for dashing, jumping and dodging, making every battle feel, intense but completely at your control. The dodge and absorb mechanic then, this lets you regain MP by dodging long range attacks with perfect timing. If you pull it off right, not only do you get your MP back, but you also blast away nearby enemies. It's just this very satisfying system. One of the coolest moments then comes when your MP meter is full. It allows you to trigger burst liberation. In this moment, time slows down for just a few seconds, giving you the opportunity to unleash some devastating attacks and really tear into enemies. Combat though overall incredibly exciting as your character zips across the battlefield, though I will admit here the camera can occasionally struggle to keep up during those more intense moments. When you're not zipping around in combat, then you're going to be exploring a city that's packed with things to do. The dynamic between liberated mode and suppression mode also comes into play here again. So in liberated mode, you can see enemies and items hidden from view in suppression mode, but you lose the ability to actually interact with civilians. This duality adds an extra layer to exploration, because you're constantly switching between seeing, the magical and the mundane. You'll also need to, after combat encounters, run and hide in this city before the attention gets too much and essentially the police turn up to deal with you. This city then is also packed with points of interest, side quests, and opportunities to improve your reputation. One standout mechanic to me is the Malice level, a meter that tracks the rising chaos in the city. By completing side quests and missions, you lower this meter and improve your standing with the general public. While the side quests then that I encountered were fairly basic, they do suggest a deeper system that could add a lot of variety to the game, and these were clearly just in place to show you those basic mechanics. There's also then a faster travel system available via the map. I didn't get to experiment with that, but also I have noted not all areas allow use for it. So for example, part of this demo is finding something called the fog and entering it. It takes you to a mystical realm, in this case the fog, and it takes you to the forest. This seems to be the game's dungeons, and I explored this one later in the demo. I'd get to a boss fight that felt really good, really kind of epic encounter, but what I didn't like was I couldn't simply fast travel out. I had to backtrack the entire map again, and this was incredibly linear, this location, so I'm hoping this is something the full release refines as you do progress through the experience. One cool final detail then in regards to exploration and the world: combat changes dependent on the location. In the city, fights actually transition into arena style encounters, but in the forest it was free flowing with no cutscenes or transitions between exploration and combat. In fact, if you wanted to, in these moments you could simply sprint past all of the enemies. Going more into the combat then, it isn't just a button mashing affair here. You're going to need to strategize, especially since the game introduces what's called a stress meter. Now as your stress builds, your attacks hit harder, but at the cost of lowering your defenses. If your stress hits 100%, you're actually automatically forced into liberated mode, whether you're ready for combat or not. Now it's actually conversations that drive up this stress, so that could be very problematic if you are, within the view of the general public who may in that moment panic. Also, there's tag team mechanics here. That is a highlight. I didn't get much experience with it, kind of throws it in right at the end of the demo, but you can switch between characters mid-battle, with one character even staying in the fight momentarily before they jump out to recharge. This tag team system feels really satisfying, and so far I've actually had 3 distinct characters in the demo. Each brings something unique to the table, generally from powerful melee strikes to slow but devastating summoning spells. For example, the male wizard packs brute strength with hard-hitting melee and ranged magic. The street magician, the last character I get introduced to that I didn't really mention in story, she was in the game for maybe a few moments. She can summon creatures, or like mystical looking creatures, at least dragons that fill the screen with epic effects. And honestly, despite the chaos in this particular battle, the game handled it well from a performance standpoint, even when things were getting extremely flashy. Visually, Reynatis does a solid job of capturing the essence of urban Shibuya, blending real-world cityscapes with these magical elements. You'll recognize iconic locations like Scramble Crossing, and while the level of detail can feel a little low in places, the design impressed. The city might feel to some less busy than expected, that's how I felt, but it's still a well-crafted location. I think here the standout though has to be character design. Our protagonist has a unique kind of sleek style, while the male wizard has that, I guess, emo vibe going on. The third character with summoning abilities, just incredible. Like I said, magical creatures filling the screen during combat. And enemy design in general, in fact, I did find that some of the street grunts in Shibuya were a little bit generic and repetitive, but once we entered the fog and that forest location, that definitely elevated the designs. The boss fight in particular was incredibly memorable because it is screen filling. On an audio front then, the soundtrack fits the urban setting well, ramping up during combat, just enough to add tension, and the sound effects from weapon strikes to explosions and magical bursts, they deliver enough punch to make combat feel satisfying. So overall, there's a few issues here. A camera that struggles in tight spaces. The frame rate for the most part is solid, especially during combat, but I did notice at a few larger locations, like Scramble Crossing, you can definitely feel that it is, moving very slightly up and down. That said though, look, I think this demo shows incredible potential. Its blend of fast-paced action, strategic combat, and intriguing story is shaping up to be something special. The world feels layered, the characters are unique, and the balance between magic and modern day offers a fresh take on the action RPG genre. If you are into fast-paced action RPGs though, with some depth and an evolving narrative, I'd say keep an eye on this one, because that's kind of the vibe I'm definitely getting. And based on what I've played so far, I'll back up that statement. I'm going to be diving into this one day one at release. So will you be checking this one out? Let us know in the comments. Have you played the demo already? Would love to hear your thoughts. With that, hit subscribe for daily Switch content, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.